Hello, I'm Dina Tosto, and this is my final project for learning theories and applications for my course Learning, Cognition, and Curriculum. Here's a quick reminder of the objectives of this final presentation, and let's start with a welcoming activity. So I would like everyone to pick a color, hold that color, look at the prompt, and be prepared to share with the person who has a different color. All right, does everyone have their color? Wonderful. All right, so I want you to find someone who does not have the same color as you, and you are going to share one of them. For instance, I chose the color purple, and when I look, I see that there is only one distinct purple, and that is room in your home. So my favorite room in my home is my kitchen. I do a lot of my reading in there, but I also get my coffee, which is my favorite beverage in the world, and I cook, which is my best form of therapy. Go ahead and share. All right, so we're coming back. A quick reminder of our agreements. We are an SEL guided school, and so our agreements for self-awareness is honoring your needs with openness and honesty. Practice self-management by speaking up and making space for others to be heard. We'll use social awareness by being open to explore all ideas and learning through perspectives. Our relationship building will be doing the best to create a safe place for all voices and voice equity. And as responsible decision makers, please let's all be active participants in today's learning. So what is our goal, Titans? Today we are going to explore the various learning theories that can and should be applied in our classrooms and school community. This presentation will serve to provide descriptions and practical implementation strategies that we all can incorporate into our daily instructional and behavior routines. For prompt 1, I was set to choose 2 of the concepts for behaviorism, and those concepts I chose were reinforcement and cueing. Reinforcement as a positive for description can occur in our classrooms in a variety of ways. There can be extrinsic reinforcers, intrinsic reinforcers, material reinforcers, social reinforcers, activity reinforcers, token reinforcers, which we know very well here as the PBIS school, and positive feedback. All of these need to be presented and received after an elicited response. So here are some different ways that we can do that. You'll see for activities, you can have students dance or jump. You might play a funny music. You might even add a different scent in the room or provide them some type of treat. Now, similarly, a negative reinforcement is not a punishment. It is in no way a punishment. Negative reinforcements described in our room happen most frequently at Benefield through escape behaviors. This is a way of avoiding non-favorable tasks, environments, social settings, and situations. So if a student is excused from an unfavorable situation, that student has been negatively reinforced through the removal of that aversive stimulus. This may look like, I forgot my homework. Oh, don't worry, you could turn it in at the end of the week. My stomach hurts. Oh, do you need to go to the clinic? Possible defiance or physical movement so that they can be removed from the class setting. Kids that arrive late, often usually missing major content or taking frequent bathroom breaks. So with the negative reinforcement, the reinforcing consequence is the removal of an aversive stimulus. Like described with escape conditioning, it gets reinforced if it stops the aversive stimulus, and the behavior becomes reinforced in avoidance because the students have the aversive stimulus being prevented. Like, can I go to the restroom? Oh, of course. And they spend 10 minutes in the restroom and therefore missing the independent task or group work. So applied concepts. Here's what it looks like in our room. I put this little matrix here so you can see the flow chart of how they connect and how they are similar. With our students for positive reinforcement, as mentioned earlier, we are a PBIS SEL school, and we use Benefield bucks as our positive reinforcement. And in a way to encourage students to become frustrated or demonstrate escape behaviors, maybe we could chunk our lessons or take away a portion of assigned homework if those students are doing their best during classroom activities and their tasks. This is a way to provide negative reinforcement for their active engagement in class. Cueing is described as seen below. And if there is a cue, a behavior, and a reward all in close proximity, you are more likely to have that habit become a habit and continue. One of the most common uses that I encounter with cueing is using signals to gain the class's attention or even to induce silence. Like 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, these call and responses are really helpful. You also want to use non-verbal visual cueing cards. These support our multi-language learners, but also provide a visual description or representation of your desired result. For prompt 2, I had to choose 2 concepts that resonated with me for human cognition. For this, I chose retrieval-based learning and chunking. Retrieval-based learning is an effective teaching learning strategy. It encourages students to actively retrieve information from their long-term memories. You might do a brain dump. You might do flashcards. You can do all types of different organizers that give them an ability to retrieve and organize information into their long-term memory. So if you are doing this in our classrooms here at Benefield, we all start with warm welcome activities. So you could start your class with a brief retrieval practice warm-up. It can be in the form of a parking lot where students reflect on their favorite topic of learning, or it could be in a variety of ways where they just share something that really stood out to them the day prior. Your summative test reflections. I think if you put a blank sheet at the end of a unit test, students can write down anything else that they remember learning during the unit or any connections that they made to their real life. Use this blank sheet as a reinforcer for students to expand and extend their thinking. Flashcards and visuals. So if you're creating flashcards or using visual aids, kind of like the cueing cards I mentioned earlier, this can help prompt students to recall information. We do community circles. So I mentioned class discussions and community circles, and this gives children a chance to collaborate and engage with different students where they can explain diverse perspectives and really share what they've learned. Songs and rhymes, and of course, practice questions to get them to build their confidence in how to apply their new learning. Chunking is a process of combining pieces of information into digestible bites for streamlined understanding, and when used effectively, can increase the amount of new information that's held in our working memory. So I have just finished teaching World War II last quarter. I apologize. And when I was teaching this, chunking happened naturally. We do not teach the entire World War II to our students in a week and expect them to make long-lasting connections. We teach it in chunks. So we have German aggression, then we move to Japanese aggression, then we discuss the causes and the alliances. We highlight the rise of dictators. We review the Holocaust. We talk about the United States joining the war with Pearl Harbor. When we're in the war, we need to talk about what's happening at home, in the home front. We discuss in detail the changing roles of women and African Americans during World War II. Then we'll move to D-Day, that turning point in the war. We discuss the use of atomic weapons and how they contributed to that contributed to VJ Day, but we know that VE Day came first. So when you teach in chunks, our students are able to process this new information, but they also naturally draw connections and make meaning rather than struggling to memorize copious amounts of information in their limited storage and working memory. The goal is for students to have access to develop meaning for long-term storage. For prompt 3, we were to choose 2 concepts for motivation to learn. For this, I chose our 4 achievement goals and expectancy value theory. So achievement goals are distinct motivational factors for achievement, and in different settings, we could demonstrate qualities of different achievement goals based on our motivation for success. I've broken them down into two categories where your four are highlighted. So in mastery goal, there are two. There's the mastery approach goal, where competency and growth are the expectation for intrinsic motivation, and mastery avoidance goal. And then this is an avoidance of tasks because you feel unprepared or you're not adequately informed on how to show competency or growth. Now, in our performance goals, you have the performance approach goal, which means that you are doing a performance so that you can receive accolades or adoration from others. And in performance avoidance goals, it's quite opposite. You're escaping behaviors to avoid ridicule or shame for less than expected performance. So if we apply this in the classroom, a performance approach goal, students may join competitive or performative clubs to receive the praise and attention of their peers. They may set goals as ways to provide the most effective performance through academic, behavioral, and creative means. You may see them in our Benefield Singers or our video club or in our robotics club, depending if it's more creative or academic. Our performance avoidance goals, so these students may not join these extracurricular activities. This could be due to a feeling of inadequacy or fear of being shamed by their peers for not meeting the level of expectation. Mastery goals, however. With the mastery approach goals, students who take additional practice and research content independently, they're heightening their understanding of new information and they're applying their information to their own lives. Whereas in mastery avoidance goals, students in group activities may shy away from performance tasks. They may not feel connected enough to the meaning of new information to be able to apply it correctly. Students may ask to go to the clinic, or they may even ask to join a new group. Now, expectancy value theory. The subjective value component of expectancy value theory is described as having four components. That's attainment, value, utility, and cost. I'll go more into these on the next slides. So expectancy, that's going to refer to our students' belief and expectation that they can succeed in a task. If they believe they can achieve a goal, they're more likely and motivated to work towards it. Here for our Titans, we remember chunk our lessons so students have time to make meaning of the new information, praise their progress throughout the day, and allow them to have choice in demonstrating their learning. Value. This involves the student's perception of the importance and relevance of an activity or task. When students see the value in what they are learning, they are more likely to engage actively. Through SEL and social awareness, we need to present the information in a culturally responsive manner. This ensures that our real-world scenarios connect to our students. Cost. Our students' perceptions of negative consequences from completing a task can impact their academic outcomes. For example, through performance avoidance, which we previously discussed, our students may believe that a task or activity is too difficult or time-consuming, and they might be motivated to make decisions to not tackle it, or they will be less motivated to tackle it. For number four, it is use. So our students are less likely to engage in new information or even be motivated to make meaning of this information if they cannot assign a practical way that this information is going to be employed in the real world. This is evident in our upper grades as we are navigating geometry lessons and organizing polygons. While some of our artists are more inclined to engage in the lesson, few students see a use for organizing 2D shapes beyond just this week's activities. So we're going to take a quick brain break. We're going to go and do guided breathing. This is found in our Pure Edge. So you're going to get comfortable, close your eyes. Beautiful. You're going to take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it. And slowly for 4 counts, exhale through your mouth. I'm going to repeat that one more time, and then we'll move on. Breathe in through your nose. Hold it. And breathe out through your mouth for 4 counts slowly. All right, you just gave yourself a soft reset. And it's important to remember our kids need soft resets throughout the day as well. For prompt 4, I had to go through 4 of Gagne's 9 learning events. For me, the ones that felt the most relevant to review with the whole school was gaining the attention of students, stimulating recall of prior learning, providing learning guidance, and providing feedback. So here they are listed again. I have highlighted of his 9 events, the 4 I will be doing. So first, in gaining the attention of students. This helps students focus on the internal process of reception. When gaining attention, it's best to use abrupt stimulus change, because learning cannot occur organically without the learner being oriented to the content, and this opens their mind to receive new information. It's imperative we ascertain our learner's attention before beginning the delivery of any new information. One of the most used ways we grab our students' attention is to implement a call and response system. It's like 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, kind of a thing. These catchy phrases engage the students, but they also orient them to where their focus needs to be. We also use warm welcomes every day, so this is another avenue that can orient students to important topics. But finally, unpacking our learning targets at the beginning and throughout lessons, it not only engages them in making meaning, but it also enhances the expectancy value for our students. I put an example of what it looks like to unpack, but this is a really great way to get their attention. For 2, stimulating recall of prior learning. When focusing on the internal process of retrieval to working memory, stimulating the recall of students' prior learning and understanding, it's best to ask students what stood out to them or what do they recall. You want to review what they recall to support students re-engaging the information into their working memory, but also enhancing their ability to make connections and meaning with new information. One way many of us are already stimulating prior learning is through the routine use of parking lots. Here, our kids are able to reflect on their learning and understanding at the end of an activity or task, and then we can refer back to their thinking at the beginning of the next task. This allows students to safely explain their understanding and strengthen recall while also providing us with formative data on concepts that may need to be reinforced. 3, providing learning guidance. This is focusing on the internal process of semantic encoding. When providing learning guidance to our students, it's best to suggest a way for our students to organize that information. We want our students to be able to construct meaning of new information and develop effective ways to organize new information with pre-existing or prior learning. By offering students a variety of tools and strategies, they can organize their thinking and allow them the opportunity to find their organizational strategy that does work best for them. So, as elementary school teachers, we can provide effective learning guidance across the content areas. But for today's example, I'm going to focus on what it might look like in math. We use hands-on activities and manipulatives. This use of physical objects helps the students visualize and conceptualize their thinking. Students get to work on math problems in pairs and small groups, and these groups should be fluid and flexible. This will help elicit diverse perspectives. Make sure you're providing scaffolding and in concepts that are too difficult. And this looks like differentiated small groups, conferring, or just kind of chunking out the activity. Using graphic organizers is a visual tool, diagrams, concept maps. And this helps students organize their thinking with something that is outlined for the key points. Finally, sentence stems, mnemonics, songs, and academic vocabulary. This helps scaffold the language for our language learners as well as our struggling students. Remember that differentiation is essential to meet the diverse needs of your students. If you are using these strategies, create an inclusive math classroom and every student then has the opportunity to succeed. You might want to also consider integrating our SEL into our daily instruction by creating SEL agreements, and this strengthens CASEL's 5 competencies in a variety of settings. I've provided a visual of the SEL agreements that are in my room, and you are more than welcome to come up and see how I employ them daily. Finally, number 7, it was actually number 4 on our slides, is providing feedback. Now, when you're focusing on the internal process of reinforcement, providing feedback to our students, you must provide informative feedback. So this visual kind of highlights what I'm trying to say here. Be timely, give help, be sincere, be specific. I mean, it's nice to show a positive regard by high-fiving our kids and saying, great job. But our students are then left to interpret what those subjective and vague gestures truly mean. Our students need clear reinforcement on their strengths and weaknesses. By following a collection of sentence frames, you can offer our Titans clear, specific, authentic feedback that can guide them towards success on a given topic, task, or behavior. So here's an example I used recently. The strongest aspect of your writing was your elaborative use of sensory details when describing your narrator's feelings. One suggestion would be to be deliberate in your usage of the sensory language so that it doesn't overshadow the important details of your story. What is the best way to plan the rest of your story so that you can focus on your most important events? This, excuse me, this slide will be provided to you, and it does give a great number of sentence frames that you can combine to give specific and useful feedback to our kids. Prompt 5, I had to choose two concepts that related to social cognitive theory and self-regulation of learning. I chose self-efficacy and modeling. Self-efficacy, while similar to self-esteem, does have distinct variances. Self-esteem focuses more on internalizing, how am I a good person? Where self-efficacy is more concerned with answering the question, how well can I do, etc. So how well can I do fraction multiplication? How well can I write a narrative? How well can I support my argument with evidence? This refers to our students and ourselves as adult learners' beliefs about our competency and proficiency in a very specific area of learning. Many of our Benefield students, 57% actually, are presenting below benchmark in reading proficiency. Of that 57%, more than half of them are 2 or more years below grade level in reading. They arrive to us with a history of failure and they believe they can't or I can't get better. This is where we need to provide differentiated instruction and scaffolded support to support their individual capabilities as they all grow to success. So please make sure your classroom libraries are filled with books that are accessible to each and every child and represent their diverse cultures, families, experiences, and traditions. Use daily read alouds to model fluency and an enthusiasm and love of reading. Encourage your kids to share their own stories with the class and allow them to read them aloud. And finally, use specific feedback, using the stems from earlier to praise them, but guide them towards continuous growth. Now, modeling. This is the clear, competent example of a desired behavior, performance, or emotion as presented by a person of authority or of expertise or with respect. Within our school setting, modeling can impact behavior in a variety of ways. It teaches new behaviors, it influences the frequency of learned behaviors, it can encourage previously forbidden behaviors, and it can increase the frequency of your expected behaviors. Now, I am the social emotional SEL PBIS lead, and I encourage self awareness, self management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making. We need to exemplify these qualities for our students for them to witness. This modeling teaches the students the appropriate behaviors in a variety of settings and increases the frequency for which students present similar qualities. It also displays my competency in supporting not only the whole child, but the whole school community. Remember to self-manage and maintain a level of control when you are responding to positive and negative stimuli. Encourage social awareness by highlighting the diversity in our classrooms through equitable read-alouds and cultural traditions. Strengthen relationship skills through community circles and fluid groupings. Use goal setting for yourself and encourage our students to set attainable goals to support their self-awareness. And ensure that you are always prepared and supportive throughout your interactions with our coworkers and students so that they can witness responsible decision making. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. As our optimistic closure, I just want you to go ahead and share with the person next to you what has resonated with you the most. Thank you so much, and it was a pleasure serving with you.